One, a two, a one.
It's time for the Better Horses Radio Show. So let's saddle up and ride as we explore the Western way of life, horses and cows, family and friends, a relationship with the land, and a relationship with God. It's all here on Better Horses Radio. Now let's hit the trails with the Better Horses team.
And welcome to Better Horses Radio. This is the radio show we get to talk about the equine industry. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And I'm Susie Arbo.
And glad to have Susie with us. We're going to have a special segment for Susie Arbo, and she's going to talk about a very special problem that we all have when we're going into the arena. And everyone, this is going to be an exciting show. I got to tell you, Merle, we are lined up with some really educational stuff.
We are, Ed. And our first guest is Dr. Traha, and he is with Will Height and Freeze. He's going to give us some general tips about when to call a vet and when it's an emergency.
You know, and we also have a special event that we have coming on, and we're talking about the Little Britches Rodeo. Susie, you've done something like this before and talking about our young industry, upcoming horseman people.
That's right. We have Billy Nelson on the show, and he's going to talk everything youth rodeo and how to get qualified, what kind of prizes and scholarships they do, and just kind of how to get involved. And it's all good things. If there's youth out there that love animals as much as we all do, this is a wonderful organization to get involved with. Little Britches Rodeo.
And you know what? We're going to wrap it up with our own Susie Arbo, our professional mental health expert, who's going to talk to us about getting nervous when we're going into the ring and things that we can do to help prevent that. But before we get to that, Merle, we get to throw it to our Better Cattle segment with Mark Alpold. He's over there in Studio B. Hey, Mark, it's getting pretty hot out there.
Well, Ed, can you believe we are mid-June? Where does the time go? One more week of days getting longer, and then... well, let's not talk about that. Let's just enjoy these long days while we have them. You know, by the way, I've always wanted to go to Alaska. I don't know about you. I'd like to go to Alaska this time of year and experience firsthand that land of the midnight sun that we hear about. You know, it sounds intriguing, sounds inviting, but people who live there, I've read that continued sunlight is really not healthy, and neither is the continued darkness that they endure in December and January. Well, we're here to talk about better cattle, and boy, did we see better cattle on the screen this week at Superior Livestock's annual Corn Belt Classic. They had over 60,000 head of feeders and calves for the two-day event, Monday and Tuesday. Cattle from nearly 20 states, and so it gave us a good market test. Prices unevenly steady to weaker as live cattle and feeder cattle futures did them no favors heading into the sale. This is one that's watched very closely by the cattle industry since it is the first major sale of the season, and it does take place in heavy cattle feeding country. Now, we're still getting final results as of this airing, but I can tell you that buyers were more interested in deferred delivery cattle for the fall than they certainly were for immediate delivery. Superior's next big sale is their Tallgrass Classic. That's in El Dorado, Kansas. That'll be coming up next Thursday. Well, you know, getting the best price for your cattle sometimes depends on a good auctioneer. And we're going to end up here today with the new world champion livestock auctioneer will be crowned this weekend at Oklahoma City National Stockyards. It's all part of the Livestock Marketing Association annual convention. They've been doing this for many years. I've covered this many years ago in Brush, Colorado, and Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Boy, what an event it was, listening to 15 or 20 auctioneers from literally around the country and in Canada, and everyone certainly a champion. They had to go through some qualifying to even to get to the championship. So that's coming up this weekend. RFD TV will air, by the way, a 1-hour special. Mike, put this on your calendar, July 8th. It'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Again, they'll be reviewing the World Championships. I'm Mark Oppold. That's going to do it for this week. We wish you a profitable week ahead.
As always, we appreciate that, Mark, and everything you do for us here at Better Horses. Hey, Merle, we got a great show coming our way. And Susie, I am looking forward to you joining us, and I appreciate that. We're going to have more Better Horses Radio coming right after this. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And I'm Susie Arbo.
We'll be right back right after these messages.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
2024 is the year to compete in the world's largest horse show, the Pinto World Championship. This 13-day event begins June 8th, starting with our youth weekend through June 22nd, and caters to all riding levels and ages. With over $1 million in cash and prizes, there are no qualifications required to enter. Held in Tulsa, Oklahoma, located at the Ford Complex, the Pinto World Championship caters to all types of equines. With over 700 classes, the Pinto Show welcomes a variety of breeds to compete. It's a family environment with healthy competition. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
Routine dental examination and treatments are essential for high-quality horse care. To prevent potential problems, a horse's mouth should be examined at least once a year. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins, Equine Field Service Veterinarian at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. We can examine the mouth and provide a treatment plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
And welcome back to Better Horses Radio. Merle, this is going to be one of our best educational shows that we're going to have going on for this week.
Yes, especially this next segment is going to be informational to everybody who's got horses and especially keeps them at home or lives with them. You know, they're really going to want to listen in.
You know, I want to tell everybody this segment is brought to you by Kleinschmidt's Western Wear. If you haven't checked them out, they're located in Higginsville, Missouri. They're family owned and operated, and they have over 30,000 square feet of just Western wear. It's a great place to get geared up, and check them out at kleinboot.com, Klein, boot.com. So with us today, the guy is going to answer all of our questions without giving you a veterinarian bill. And I think that's important because that gets expensive. He has his doctorate in veterinary medicine. He's located at Wilhite and Fries, one of the most finest veterinarian operations that we have here in the Midwest. And we'd like to welcome Dr. Traha. Dr. T, welcome to Better Horses.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we've talked about a lot of things to go through, and I think we're going into the summer and the heat. And we're talking about everything that can go wrong with horses. So this is going to be a segment I think everybody's going to tune into. But let's talk about it. I think we talk about, and I think if you've been in my barn so many times, we've had every one of these things that hit it. We're going to talk about colic. We're going to talk about lameness. We're going to talk about choking, lacerations and punctures, eye trauma. We'll even talk about reproductive emergencies and foal emergencies. So let's start from the top. The number one thing everybody keeps talking about is colicking. And going into this summer, what are you seeing from your perspective here in the Midwest, and what are the things that we can do that is so obvious that we can help avoid that program?
Sure. Colic, first and foremost, we should say, just means I hurt. Generally speaking, it's the abdomen that we're worried about, and within the abdomen, it's GI tract. And so many times folks do believe colic is one singular problem. In reality, it's a multitude of problems. We can tend to categorize it into specific kind of categories that help differentiate worse types of colics from better types. I think the most important thing is ensuring consistent food supplies, consistent water supplies, and being as quote unquote regular as you can. I think that's the most important part to living a healthy equine life and reducing your chances of having colic being part of a problem.
You know, we've seen it. I have witnessed it many times. There's still choking going on out there, and everybody kind of like blames it on the grain or blames it on, the type of forage that we're feeding. Your thoughts on that? And if your horse is choking, sitting in a stall, what's the first things they should do to help that horse out as much as possible?
Yeah, from a choke perspective, I wish we would use a different term in reality because it tends to startle a lot of folks. The most important part to know is it's usually not an obstruction of the airway. It's an obstruction of the esophagus, the foodway. So as far as the chances of choking and what you should know about it, first and foremost, if you're having an issue with a choke, the horse should have no access to further choke. So no more food, no more water until your veterinarian's able to assist you with that. But more importantly, what can you do about it? Most times choke in reality is a horse, and dogs do the same things. They'll bolt. So they might eat too fast. It tends to happen more often with concentrates or grains because they tend to want to eat fast through that process. So it's not always the actual substance. It's the time the patient's taken to eat that. There are some items that are compressed or really dried that do increase your chances of having choke. But most importantly is recognizing what you're feeding, how you should be feeding it, and the symptoms you need to look out for, mainly a really stressed appearing horse, food or saliva coming out of the mouth and nostrils are the general big symptom.
And Dr. T, shifting gears a little bit, I was just down at the clinic over Memorial Day, and we had a horse that had a laceration. Can you tell us a little general rule of thumbs for how to tell if the cut is, we need to take the extra time to go to the vet, especially in an emergency situation? What's the general advice you'd give our listeners?
Yeah, I think lacerations, they just happen to be an enjoyable part of my life, usually not a horse owner's life. But if it's enough to break fully through the skin, it's enough to have a conversation with your vet to decide, A, should it be seen? Is it needing to be seen emergently or at a timely fashion? And then secondarily, if it's broken through the skin, is it around any critical structures? And that could be a joint, a sheath, a bursa, a critical soft tissue structure like the suspensory ligament or the flexor tendons. Does it go through a critical part of the hoof wall, what we call a coronary band? That's a normal growth portion. If that's unchecked, you might have some abnormal hoof growth going forward. So location and depth is kind of the important things from a laceration standpoint.
We're seeing this out there again, pivoting the eye trauma with the confusion of, you got allergies. We've had horses come in and they're just swollen shut. We see that. What's the first thing that you can do as an owner of the horses that can eliminate that pain? And at what point do you have to call your vet?
Yeah, I think having a really good relationship with your vet's the most critical thing. We do have some clients that are well-versed in kind of chronic eye diseases. Allergies themselves don't tend to cause much in the way of swelling around eyes. They can certainly cause drainage because the nasolacrimal duct can get blocked. But anytime we have eye swelling of the lids or a change in color or kind of awareness, visual nature of a horse, it's definitely worth having a conversation with your vet to determine if it needs to be seen emergency-wise. We almost exclusively consider eyes as emergencies unless we see, a video of the eye, a picture of the eye. We have lots of digital methods of seeing how critical a structure is. So we often use kind of the digital realm to decide how quickly we need to see an eye, but usually swelling of a lid needs differentiation from something like an eye ulcer or a foreign body penetration versus kind of irritation of the conjunctiva or something.
That's very helpful. Very helpful to know. Just curious. I know we fold out 6 babies this year, and Merle, of course, is a judge, so he leaves a lot and he takes off. And so I always get nervous, kind of being more of an amateur about when the babies are, expected to come. What would be like some types of some situations when a horse is starting to foal, you notice they're really close, that you would get nervous about and call your vet? Like, how do you know when it's going well versus you need to do something?
Yeah, I think at some point in time, I became an amateur foaler outer, if you will, and became a vet. So there's a time where you have to get professional with it, and you learn as you go. I think that the stressors of taking 11 months of growing this thing, all the looking at a mare, tends to bring a lot of anxiety at the very end of this penultimate situation. So it's not uncommon for, at the end stage of gestation, very near birthing, mares will start to act funny. They may want to lay in particular spots. They may want to kind of hide. They may want to do things that are a little different. Part of their nature, trying not to let prey animals get to them, or trying not to let scavenger animals get to a foal, anything like that. So things to watch out for is, if behavior is continuous, then foaling may be impending. It also may indicate there's a problem currently. So I would generally say, if behaviors last more than 15 minutes, absolutely have a call to your vet. If you see anything coming out of the reproductive tract or the vaginal cavity, if we see blood, we see virulent discharge, any change that would indicate, or a foot obviously, would indicate that foaling is impending. And at that point in time, prepare yourself for the future of what's going on.
That's very helpful. That's good to know. Just curious, we have minis out here, mini horses, and we love them very much. But is there a greater risk when breeding minis? Do they have a harder time foaling, or what how does that compare to a normal full size horse?
Yeah, I think statistically we see a little bit more chances of problems in miniature horses than different breeds. Actually, the extremes tend to be problems potentially. So the really large draft breeds can have some problems. The really small miniatures can. The reason and rationale why miniatures are probably more prone than anything is we've bred these, unfortunately, they're dwarfs, but we've bred them to be that way. And so when you breed genetically for that, you run into a multitude of other genetic problems you may have. You can have crooked limbs. You can have dyssynchronies of the size of a miniature foal's head compared to the pelvis of its mom. And so there can be increased chance of foaling emergencies in miniatures, which can be a challenge, because I don't know a lot of folks who can rectally manipulate or vaginally manipulate minis. It can be a real challenge.
Dr. T, summer's coming up, and we have real quickly just a few minutes, and I wanted to ask a question on exhaustion. We ride these horses extensively now, summer. Count that on with the heat coming up. At what point should you panic that you've overdone it on your horse and your exhaustion is just too much? And what are the things you can do from an emergency standpoint to keep your horse from collapsing or getting tied up?
I think huge things are, one, know the vital parameters of your horse. What is its typical running tactile temperature? What is its typical running respiratory rate, heart rate, and how do you find those values? How can you actually determine it? Not everyone has a stethoscope, but everyone tends to have hands and fingers. You can check a pulse rate in lots of places. And so knowing what would be out of that normal, and, is it 25 or 50% or 300 times higher than what it was? Those are the most important ways to know what is different from baseline. Certainly sweat patterns and the amount of stress the horse is going through is important to know. And having a good conversation with your vet know your limitations, know your training abilities, know what is coming from a weather standpoint, humidity standpoint. What are you willing to risk?
Perfect. Well, I tell you, the baseline is actually the really good way of putting that through. Temperature, pulse, and respiration. Get to know that. Dr. T, I want to thank you for joining Better Horses. This is invaluable. I know Susie and I and Merle are all getting together, writing notes down and making sure that we've got everything squared away this coming. But anyway, thank you for joining us. I want to let everybody know this is Dr. Traha. He's at Wilhite and Freeze Equine Hospital. You can get a hold of Wilhite and Freeze by going to wilhiteandfreeze.com or dial their number at 816-779-0100. And we appreciate you joining us. We're going to take a break, hear from our sponsors, but we'll be right back with more Better Horses. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we'll be right back. And welcome back to Better Horses Radio. You know, I'm thrilled to have Merle Arbo with me as my co-host, but Susie, I want to thank you for joining us. You and I are always doing the TV opening, and so the radio side's a little different for you, right?
Yes, and I absolutely love it. So glad to be here. We've got such a great lineup of guests today.
We do, and you're going to hear more about Susie Arbo here later in this broadcast, and she's going to talk all about the riding jitters that we have going on. But before we get started, I want to let everybody know this segment is brought to you by the John Deere dealers and Heritage Tractor. Heritage Tractor located in Kansas City, Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas. So for all your John Deere needs, check out Heritage Tractor. Merle, one of the things we get to talk about going into Oklahoma, there's a special event that we have coming up, and everybody should check this out. It's going to be the Lazy E Arena in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and it's called the Little Britches Rodeo Association, and they're going to have a special rodeo, which is going to be June 30th through July 6th.
Coming right up.
And more importantly, we have a guy that's going to talk to us about it, and he has been doing this for a very long time. Billy Nelson, the president of the Little Britches Rodeo, and which is going to be going on here soon, is going to talk to us and exactly how long he's been with us. So, Billy, welcome to Better Horses Radio.
Good to be here. I'm glad y'all let us come on.
Now, so that our nationwide audience can understand this, you're from Louisiana and you have an accent down there, but you've been doing this Little Britches Rodeo for a long time.
Yes, sir. About 20-something years, about 21, 22 years.
And so what makes this rodeo special than any other rodeo going on throughout the United States?
Well, Little Britches is the oldest youth rodeo in the world, and we got 33 franchises across the United States that qualify to come to this national finals rodeo. So the best of the best is going to come here and compete for 7 days and see who's number one.
And what is the age group on those events? And so when we talk about ages, we're talking Little Britches here, but how young and how old can you be?
So we start at 5 years old at the Little Wranglers, and then we go through juniors and seniors, which is 19 years old, aging out. So we're the only national youth rodeo that covers all ages, from 5 years old all the way to 19 years old in your first year in college.
And this is not just local. I mean, this is a national. I think you're in, is it 33 states now?
We're in 33 states, and also in Hawaii. We have one in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
So we branched all the way into Hawaii, and so that's doing real good. And
on a personal note, how do you get to judge the rodeo in Hawaii?
How do you get to judge it?
Yeah.
No problem. Just say, you just call over and judge it. Just say, okay, I need to get a judge's card, and I want to be the judge in Hawaii.
So Merle is putting in his application as we speak. So that's what we're doing.
No problem. You just got to have a Little Britches card, and you get the Little Britches card, and you can fly over and be the judge.
Sounds like a good deal.
We'd like to compliment the Lazy Arena for hosting this event. You've been doing this for a lot of time, but this is going on from June 30th to July 6th. Just so if everybody's joining us, we're talking to Billy Nelson, the president of the Little Britches Rodeo. And Billy, that's a good facility to have this national event. You've been pretty pleased with the facilities?
Yes, the Lazy is a nice place. We've been there. This will be our 9th year. like I say, it's very big. The people there are very nice. And look, the event staff people there, that they just help me so much. It'd be hard to do it without some of them. From electrical work to parking trailers, pulling trailers to whatever we got to do. They've been real nice to us, the whole place. So yes, it's been a great thing there.
Yeah, I was wondering what do you feel like is kind of the reason why you've been involved with this for so long? Like what's kind of the draw about this? What keeps you coming back every year?
Well, if you're talking about, I mean, like I say, the Little Britches is a great organization, and my kids love to compete. And if you're going to compete in a youth organization, you really want to kind of do where it's a good competition and stuff. But to me, it's a family oriented deal. It's real family oriented. I love to be around a bunch of kids, the people, and like I said, I just love to volunteer my time. I like to help the kids, and I just really enjoyed the atmosphere that the Little Britches puts on.
You know, Billy, you have been doing this for so long, and we're talking to people that naturally are in the horse industry, but now you're talking about our kids. And to your point, you're 5 years old. Well, talk to me about the parents who are just a little nervous about little Johnny getting out there and getting hurt, and talk about the safety aspect with these kids at the rodeo.
Well, to me, a horse is safer than a four-wheeler. That's just me.
Good point.
Most of the time, we see horse kids that do have accidents and stuff, but the horse is more or less trying to get out of the way or get away from the baby. But we got helmets. The kids that's not sure, they wear helmets and things, and we try to keep where it's only a few people in the holding pen, whether we can let them in and shut the gates, and we got people positioned in all places to kind of help. If something goes wrong, they're there and more than willing to help out before something bad happens.
So we're looking at the National Finals Rodeo, or the Little Britches Rodeo here. Let's talk about the actual event of starting your kids. At what age would you recommend you'd like to start these kids off, and at what event would you like to see them get their confidence built?
My kids started riding and leading in and stuff at a year old. Let's just say a year old, in lead in, where they was on a horse and just like balancing herself, and you lead them. But then at 3 and 4, my daughter was riding. I mean, she actually was loping around, and that sounds mighty young. But at 5 to 6 years old, I'm going to say that there's a lot of kids that's already developed a good riding skill, and they either get a horse, the parents will get them a horse that fits them, that's not crazy, that just go through and they'll let them lope through or let them run through at their convenience so they can learn and get with the horse. Because, a lot of parents don't put their kids on the horse to win. They put them on a horse to let them learn. An old horse already knows, and you put your kid on it, and he pretty well already patterned, and you can just let them go through there, and that horse will just about take that baby through there and come back and not have a problem one. And so I'm good at the 5 to 6 year old. I really am. My kids did it. She wore a helmet all the way up till she told me, she said, "Dad, I want to wear my cowboy hat." And I said, "Okay, I believe you. To that age, you can tell me that, and I'm good with it." And that's kind of the way that was, And but I really think 5 or 6 is good.
Yeah, that sounds like a good age to get them started, right? Get them started right. Just curious, do the young competitors need to qualify in any way to be able to compete, or is it a membership that is purchased? And then also, what kind of prizes are up for grabs at these? What do people win if they do well?
All right, so you still got to qualify, and every kid has to go to a franchise rodeo and qualify. And like I say, you got to be in each rodeo. You got to be in the top 7 positions, and there might be 100 kids at that rodeo, and that's in each event. So that's barrel racing, or that's pole bending, or that's breakaway, whatever. You got to be in the top 7, and you got to qualify in 6 rodeos in the top 7 to be able to come to the national finals. So the next thing is we give away probably close to over $100,000, probably just like prizes, like saddles, buckles, things like that. But also our kids are running for over $350,000 in cash.
Wow.
on each finals rodeo, in the national finals rodeo. And plus not only that, let me just take last year. I know kids that took on $18,000 in scholarship money.
Wow.
See, because you also get scholarships through the Little Britches to go to college on. And that we know that's going there because we have to write the checks to the college. And so, but at the end of your time, not only the money you won, not only the prizes you won, you can also win scholarships to go to college on. So that's why I think it's one of the greatest deals in the world. You know.
And Billy, I know most of us are well versed in our typical rodeo events, but I see some events on here that are a little different maybe than what you'd see at a typical rodeo, such as goat untying and trail course or something, saddle steer. Can you tell us some about the unique events to Little Britches?
So we got pulling off the little ribbon off the end of a goat tail because them little babies cannot throw that goat. And so what we do is you run down there and they got a line drew, and the kid jumps off his horse, runs around there, gets the ribbon off the goat, and runs back across the line for a time. And that kind of gives them something to start learning on how to get off the horse and get to the goat. Even though they're not throwing it, they pulling a ribbon and running back across the line. That's kind of the 5 to 8 year old, 5 to 9. That's what that's in. And then we got goats and everything, and where that kid runs down there and he throws that goat and tries to tie it in 6, 7, 8 seconds, somewhere along in there. But the other event that you call for, which is the trail course, that is an event that we got that we feel like it helps our kids have horsemanship. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have horsemanship, you can't run barrels, you can't run poles, you can't rope. You know, you got to learn how to move a horse, and that is our all-girl event, but that is our horsemanship event that we let them run through, open a gate, they run back through 2 barrels, they run over and put mail in the mailbox, they come down and they make a jump and go across a bridge. So that's kind of things that we got for our horsemanship on that. And, you know, we kind of got it for of course, it's the girls, but however, it's still kind of a horsemanship event, you know, learn how to do that.
So there it is with the National Little Britches Rodeo Association Finals, and that's going to go on June 30th through July 6th. Billy, we want to thank you for joining us and getting everybody promoted for this event. We'll see you in Guthrie, Oklahoma, for those who want to attend, and we truly believe this is going to be a really fine event. Billy, thank you for joining us.
Well, look, I appreciate y'all having us on, and we thank the Lazy E, and we appreciate everything that just put it out there and let everybody know to come see the greatest youth rodeo in the world.
That's Billy Nelson, president of the Little Britches Rodeo. We're going to stop it right there, guys. We're going to take a break. We're going to hear from our sponsors, but stay with us. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And I'm Susie Arbo.
And we'll be right back right after these messages.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dylan Luter, a specialist in equine performance medicine at the Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Our new service focuses on lameness diagnosis, advanced imaging, physical therapy, and regenerative medicine for horses with injuries preventing them from performing at their best. We can treat a variety of conditions and design a customized rehabilitation plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
Hi, I'm Tommy with Heritage Tractor. Whether you're looking to maintain your yard or your whole ranching operation, Heritage Tractor has John Deere mower and tractor packages that make work fly by. With a variety of horsepower and attachment configurations, we have a package to best fit your needs and budget. To learn more about these exclusive packages, visit us in store or online at heritagetractor.com.
Legendary products, extraordinary service, that's our heritage.
Established in 1956, the Pinto Horse Association of America was formed to welcome all types of equines and maintain their show records and pedigrees. PTHA currently has over 88,000 members with 157,000 registered Pintos. There are currently 3 separate registries: the Color Registry, the Solid Registry, and the Long Ear Registry. We welcome all levels of competition within a family-friendly environment. Become a member, register, and add value to your horse. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
It's time to go with United Mosquito and Fly Control's premier fly system for fly control in your barn, providing relief for horses from the stress of fighting flies, and also makes the barn more pleasant for everyone in the barn. Easy, effective, and safe. With United Mosquito and Fly Control, we provide a full service. You as the barn owner don't have to do anything. We go everywhere and take care of everything with our friendly fast service. Call today at 913-558-3814 or email Paul at unitedmosquito.com.
2024 is the year to compete in the world's largest horse show, the Pinto World Championship. This 13-day event begins June 8th, starting with our youth weekend through June 22nd, and caters to all riding levels and ages. With over $1 million in cash and prizes, there are no qualifications required to enter. Held in Tulsa, Oklahoma, located at the Ford Complex, the Pinto World Championship caters to all types of equines. With over 700 classes, the Pinto Show welcomes a variety of breeds to compete. It's a family environment with healthy competition. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com.
And welcome back to Better Horses. We are so glad you are staying with us. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And this next topic we are thrilled to have because I get to have my co-host on television join us, Miss Susie Arbo, who's going to talk to us about In the Ring and talk about show jitters. So, Susie, welcome to Better Horses Radio.
Thank you so much. I absolutely love the radio show. I feel like there's always so many different things that you can learn, and we all love our horses and our cattle. So always growing.
It's very relaxing, but I wanted to get you on the show because we had one of our trainers when I asked them, what's the most frustrating thing you have with all of your students? And she said, it bothers me when we go into the show ring and my students ride their horse so differently than when they didn't practice. And that comes under the category of show jitters. And you just came back to the Pinto World Championship show, which is going on, and you had a special event there. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So I was asked to judge again this year, actually, the public speaking competition, and it is hosted by the Pinto Horse Association. And so they actually had high school students come in from all over the nation, and they competed in several different categories. It was an awesome experience. I think for a lot of these young people in the equestrian world, they're kind of all around people as far as they love their horses, they love their animals, but then also they want to grow in their public speaking. And so this is a perfect way to do it. And so the Pinto Association kind of hosts an event for this. And so I heard a lot of really good speeches, and it was really fun. I learned from them, and it was awesome to hear. One of the things I noticed is that some people were super comfortable talking, that it was natural for them to kind of just speak in front of others. And then for some people, they were nervous. You know, it's scary to be in front of people. They say the number one cause of that scare people the most in this whole entire world is public speaking. And the number two fear that people have is actually death. So that actually shows you that people would rather die than public speak. And so
I'm surprised birds aren't higher.
Birds and spiders and snakes, yeah, they should be right up there too, right? But so with that, some things, you know, I'm a counselor and a therapist by trade and by day, and so I always like to help people when they are feeling nervous or they are feeling anxiety, just learn some ways to kind of deal with that in a healthy way. And there's a saying, Ed and Merle, that actually says, when emotions are high, logic is low. So whenever your emotions are kind of running wild, whether you're in the show pen, whether you're about to give that speech, whether or not you're maybe going to a barrel race or a trail ride or some kind of big event. When those emotions are high, logic kind of goes out the window sometimes and the emotions take over. And so just having some little coping skills that people have, I always say, in your pocket to pull out when you're feeling anxious can be so helpful. And some of the ways that I like to calm down is one of them is through the power of our breath. And it's actually called 4-7-8 breathing. And you guys probably are aware of this, but when you are feeling anxious, the first thing to change in your body is actually your heart rate. So when you feel that heart rate kind of increase and it starts to just really, feel like your chest is gonna, explode or feels like an elephant sitting on it, some people describe. Whenever you can regulate that breath, you're gonna feel so much better. And so when I compete, I've used this for years. Actually, when I rode Warpaint at the Kansas City Chiefs Stadium in front of 80,000 screaming fans, I needed to be calm on that horse. And so I needed to figure these things out. So like I said, 4-7-8 breathing is totally one of the ways. And what you do is you breathe in through your nose for 4, and then you hold your breath actually for 7, and then you breathe out through your mouth for 8.
4 seconds.
Yeah. Yep. So you're actually breathing in and then you're breathing out double than what you're taking in. And that just gives your body kind of a nice little kind of reset. It slows that heart rate down instantly. And it's just is a really nice thing to do before, like I said, you go in that show ring, if you're standing out in the halter pen, whatever you're doing, it can really calm you down. And, horses feed off of us, right? They feel our energy. There's actually a statistic that tells us that our energy is felt, radiates about 3 feet from us. And so if we can be calm, then our animals can be calm. Another way that I love to kind of calm down is something called thought stopping. And sometimes our thoughts it's easier for our mind to go negative than it is positive. And so when you're out there ready to compete or ready to do that speech, you might be thinking worst case scenario. Like, what if they think what I'm saying is stupid? Or what if my horse misacts and it does something bad? And so our mind kind of goes to the negative. So telling yourself just to stop, and I always use the visual of having a stop sign. And then, so you tell yourself, stop it. And then you say 2 magical words, which is not helpful. So you're kind of just reminding yourself it's not helpful, Ed, to think this way. Right. And so I'm going to try to think about something that is more positive, something that's more helpful right now. Like, me and my horse are prepared to do this event. Like, we are ready. We are here at the Pinto World or wherever you're competing. Or even if you're going to speak, I know my topic and I feel like I'm worthy to be here. Those can be different ways that you can change your thoughts. But once you can get those thoughts under control, you can perform a lot better because it definitely affects our behavior too.
So when you mean not helpful, you're walking into the arena and you don't say, I should have practiced more. I should have, right. I should have studied my speech more and things of that sort. Would you say that because we're dealing with horses and or the kids and the people that are obviously competing are by themselves so many times, public speaking becomes amplified? Because these kids are out in the agricultural arena and in that environment all the time. They don't get that interaction. So this speech contest that the Pinto is hosting can be very, very beneficial for them because they normally don't have to talk to people. They just talk to their sheeps and their goats and their pigs and their cattle. I mean, did you find that becoming a real big challenge from what you're saying?
Well, growing up in 4-H and FFA and having those opportunities to do judging competitions and getting in front of people, I feel like people in agriculture kind of, if they are involved in these activities like Pinto Association, have kind of a leg up in the fact that they get this opportunity. There's not a lot of spots, I guess, or opportunities for people to do public speaking. And so I do kind of feel like they have an advantage. They are probably used to talking to their animals. They are probably used to talking to their, their trainers or their coaches or whatever they use in their own world. But overall, I mean, what a great experience, right? To help them with whatever occupation they go into someday, whether it be healthcare, whether it be agriculture, whether it be, education, that they get to have this opportunity to speak in front of others or compete. Horses teach us a lot too about responsibility and teamwork and all sorts of different things that we can learn through these experiences we have.
So let's throw it to the trainer, Merle. You see this all the time. You're putting trainers into the ring, or you're putting these contestants in the ring. Is there any special tricks that you have? I love the 478, by the way. I plan to use that. That's excellent. But you see this all the time, Merle. You don't ride in the ring like you do at practice. I mean, let's face it, we don't do that.
No, Ed, a nervous rider will tell on themselves, and you can see it in their horse. You can see it in their posture, and to counteract that nervousness, those riders need to take a breath, slow down, and remember what they practice. Most people don't go in to the show ring never practicing their patterns at a show like the Pinto World. They've done this, they've many times at nauseum, like, okay, this is enough. But they need to slow down and take one step at a time, and don't get too far ahead of yourself. I think nerves, whether it's in the show pen or whether it's in a speech contest or however, it always play a factor. And you can see somebody that's nervous. It's uncomfortable. Susie can probably tell you it's uncomfortable for the judge or for the listener to hear somebody that's nervous. So you put your audience more at ease. As a judge, that puts me more at ease when that exhibitor is more poised and relaxed and smiling. I say to all my students, I would rather see a fake smile than a real frown. And because everybody's all like, oh, that's fake, but that's, to me, that's true.
And I see that going back. Go ahead, Susie.
I also know just from years of competing and whatnot too, sometimes people, they get frustrated because they maybe made a mistake or they did something and they feel like maybe the judges saw it. And so then they kind of give up and they stop showing. There's been so many times where you just, if you keep pushing forward and you keep that smile on your face and you keep performing with your horse, maybe some of the judges didn't see it, or maybe it's not as bad as some of the other people have done in that class. And so you keep showing and you always end up doing better than if you kind of give up and kind of whatnot. But like Merle said, your facial expressions tell it all, and your posture and your body. And so just really keeping that confidence up and we learn and we grow. And if we have challenges and mistakes, like that's how we actually get better. And those obstacles, we actually, we call them gifts. And gifts are really just wonderful learning opportunities, because that means that we're going to come in next time and we're going to be better than we were the last. And so just kind of remembering, if you make a mistake, it's a gift.
It's a gift. I always love this. Are you going in there to compete or are you going in there to complete? Merle, I got to throw you one question. You're out in the ring. You guys gave really good tools to use. But I've always been interested in those riders that can't control that horse. The horse is not going to have it. I mean, how long do you stay into this ring? How long before? And most riders quit way too early. And you're in there to complete it and not compete, where you took yourself out of the competition. But how far do you drive this where you don't let that horse behavior figure out a way I can get out of this ring?
That's a great question. The difference between a horse and a car, and it sounds silly, but when you're learning to drive a car, the car's not learning from you. It is push this button, turn this wheel. A horse, they anticipate the pattern. If you've run through it a lot, they're learning the pattern as you're learning. So if you've schooled it a bunch, some horses you can't over school, because you run through it once or twice and they've already picked up, okay, I got a lope here or trot here, and they get ahead of that rider. And then that rider's trying to keep up with that horse. So learning how to school patterns effectively without that horse learning is to me very important. I think overschooling happens a lot more common than people think. And so to counteract that nervous horse, you may have to, I always like to keep that horse busy right up until it goes in the pen. If you know you've got a nervous type of horse, hey, go lope some circles until it's your time, until you have to stand there and be ready. If that thing's a little bit out of breath as you walk in the pen, that's going to help your cause, not usually hurt it. Now, that being said, in a reining pen or working cow horse class or something like that, yeah, you don't want to go in there with your horse out of breath, but you need enough energy to get through that class. But like a horsemanship or a trail pattern, it's a little slower, knock a little wind out of their sails and take them in there, and then you relax.
There you go. Well, we got to leave it there. I want to thank Susie Arbo. It's always great to get that mental health perspective on what we do every day. I want to thank you for joining us, and I look forward to our next TV show. Be sure to check us out on our website. Also, check us out on RFD and the Cowboy Channel. Merle, as always, great show today. So appreciate you joining us.
That was good. We always have fun, don't we?
We want to also thank our sponsors for providing the revenue we need to put on this show. But more importantly, we want to have you guys continue to take a look at our podcast, along with our radio show and our newspaper and our TV show. And above all, special thanks to our radio producer, Brianna Johnson, and our TV producer, Kelly Creech. And I want everybody to be good buckaroos and buckarettes. Mind your moms and dads, and be brave, but don't take any chances out there. Until next time, I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
Happy trails. And always ride for the brand.